Hello, everyone. My name is Anita Jovic. I will be your host for AI in Industry 5.0 track. So welcome again. Our next speaker is Jovan Marjanovic. He's the managing partner at ProWerk Consulting, which is the data science AI blockchain for government and healthcare company. Jovan is also the Government Blockchain Association COO and also our partner at this is Data Science Conference US implementation, and also our new international advisory board. And he's joining us from DC Washington, in US. And also, just to mention, he also worked for Oracle, SAP, Deutsche Telekom, and founding CEO of Tier 1 Analytics, or T1A. Jovan, we're so happy to have you today on stage as a keynote speaker. Welcome, and thank you for joining us. Yeah.
So, before I start, I want to make sure, do you see my presentation?
I can see you and hear you, but the presentation is just opening, so we can see it now.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
So thank you. First of all, thank you very much for having me today. Yes, I'm speaking from Washington, D.C. And today is the morning of Thanksgiving. So not many people will be working here. I want to talk today about analytics and AI in the real world. I do analytics. I worked with one thing that actually we forgot to mention. I worked for SaaS as well. So analytics is pretty much in everything that I do. But I also live in a real world where everything is not exactly how industry analysts want us to believe. And the reality of legacy systems has never been kind of legacy systems. We know that they exist. We don't talk about them. We don't talk because if we talk about legacy, we don't get a lot of keynote opportunities. If we are CIOs, we talk about legacy. It's not fun. It's not enhancing my resume. If we are future, if you are consultants, legacy doesn't give me a lot of billable hours. Maybe it does, but it's difficult to sell, so it's easier to sell new stuff. What are you doing with AI? What are you doing with cloud? However, we lived with legacy. Things hum along, and then came an interesting moment. Just a second. Nice. About a little more than a year ago, we all got hit by you know which event, and everybody in our business had to basically figure out how not only how we are going to change, but how we are going to and add new stuff, but how are we going to deliver what people need under stress, what our customers need, what our managers need, what our governments need under conditions of extreme stress. So this is a pretty well-known anecdote that in the US public sector, people woke up one day, they figured out that they have to give additional unemployment benefits, completely new model. People got figured out new eligibility rules, new model of paying people. And they figured out that they don't know how to do it, that their IT systems run on COBOL. Well, where do you find those programmers? Oh, well, we mostly retired, or this stuff has been outsourced to another continent. So we actually did have the governor of the state of New Jersey come out on television and ask for volunteers to call the state for volunteer COBOL programmers to help government process unemployment claims. So did the things fall apart? Well, actually, they did not, and I'm going to tell you about how, or what I'm going to tell you will be based pretty much on empirical now data on last 2 years, where legacy systems, which we know are familiar, which we know instinctively are efficient for specific tasks, which we know ensure continuity in business operations, actually are able to do much more than we thought possible, provided that people who are using them have no choice but to make things work. Legacy systems have demonstrated both resilience and adaptability under stress, while it was machine learning and AI that actually demonstrated that those systems can deliver value. So it was kind of a combination of youth, of new technology, and of very, very old data sources that got together to deliver what some people are called the greatest digital transformation in history. So the value of what the data science and AI has delivered, of primarily data science, during the last 2 years, the value that it has delivered under not to early adopters, but to normies, to people who never used the internet for commerce or for interaction with the government. The value is clear, and a lot of that was a combination, as I said, of machine learning and AI technologies and traditional systems. So in the future, we are likely to see almost certainly a less confrontational evolution of enterprise IT architectures that will be driven less by hype and more by natural digital transformation of the entire society and customer, and that means also employee and citizen experience, where machine learning and AI will play a much bigger and very natural role. So yes, it all started by the famous COVID dashboard. It all started by students and professors and data hackers accessing data from Johns Hopkins University. So that when the first COVID dashboard appeared, I think that many people heard the name dashboard for the first time. And unfortunately, some people now, too many people believe that data science, and machine learning is actually about dashboarding, and that this is what high school children do for in their basement as a hobby. But let's look at the bright side. The bright side is that there was a massive pressure from the formerly unsophisticated customer for governments, for enterprises to deliver information. And that information normally came, especially in the United States, from legacy systems and was delivered successfully. So what we thought was impossible actually became possible. And now we have to see how. We have to learn from what we did well and then put that in some regular workflows that will work under normal conditions. So Okay, so what kind of was crystal clear before now is intuitively clear that legacy systems are powering our most important customer experiences. When we interface with a system, legacy system is most of the time behind. And behind is definitely the legacy system. Processing data for 10 years, 20 years, taking care and now being put in a position where this data can actually not only can but have to provide value. Even before the COVID-driven digital transformation, legacy systems were growing like crazy because the volume of transactions was growing and systems were actually able to cope with that. Now, after the systems prove that they can do the job, their replacement just because we need to go to the cloud or just because they are obsolete is becoming a little harder to justify. Replacing transaction processing systems, on the other hand, that run in modern data center environments, and they also fall under category of legacy, is often now a non-starter. So legacy systems, we know now, serve, I mean, we knew, but now there is an empirical proof. They serve as a critical piece of infrastructure that is ripe with opportunity for integration with modern analytical platforms. So where do we start? Well, it depends on who you are. If you're a developer, if you're building systems to access legacy, you probably don't want to, you want to start with the latest and greatest technologies. Latest technologies, most widely used in academia, tools that graduate students are using, tools that most programmers are learning, young developers are learning. That's fine. If you are an enterprise, so if your job is not to build those tools, you probably want to make sure that you can open data, whether through APIs or through easier accessibility, and then learn how to evolve in a more gradual fashion. And make sure that your primary drivers are basically driven by your constituency, external constituency that you're serving, not the internal constituency that is often self-serving. So I'm now talking about the enterprise. And let's look at pretty standard 5 steps of data science. Where do we start? I'm going to argue that we start from the end because that's what worked. And that's what clearly demonstrates value. Start from building better, in implementing better ways of communicating and visualizing data. We need to learn a little bit from the recent success. Dashboards are messy. Just showing dashboards on the screen doesn't mean that you're doing analytics. We all know that. What I'm going to argue now is we are lacking a big skill, a major skill. We are data illiterate. We have data poetry, but we don't have data literature, which means that we have to stop improvising and standardize the language, standardize our visuals, standardize the way we talk about data, we read data, we work with data, we analyze data, and we argue with data. Or we need to build the enterprise data literacy. And literacy of pictures, literacy of data is pretty much like literacy of language. You need standards. Who can help you here? Well, there is a lot of emphasis on the practice. I don't think that academia is doing a stellar job here. I don't think that training companies are doing a great job here. I think that vendors are doing a pretty good job. And I'm going to say, okay, everybody knows that Tableau is doing a decent job here. I'm going to emphasize one vendor here, and I don't like to emphasize vendors, but here I have to give credit to Click for really emphasizing the data literacy concept in their mission. So congratulations, Click. Should you replace your legacy analytics platform? I think I have an opinion about this, and this is a pretty strong opinion. Analytics is, if you have an analytics platform by now, it's probably doing a job. It's probably there not because you're playing with it. If you're playing with it, you don't have it. You're playing. But if it's doing a job, you definitely need to keep it. However, with the changes, like young generation is definitely coming with, every generation comes with another programming language, with another toolkit that they bring with them, especially in analytics. Analytics is very individualistic. And it's kind of hard for IT to put governance on it. Well, you need to put governance. Machine learning, AI is no longer for the geeks. It's no longer on the margins where you can play. It's in the center of your IT. So you need to wrap it together. I'm saying prioritize processes. Look at model ops or ML ops. If you don't know what it is, Google. And most of you do know what it is. It means putting a framework and make around your modeling, around your machine learning operations, and making it manageable, and unifying various tools, because it's possible. It's easier to unify your tools than to go into permanent argument about is my Python better than your Python? There's a lot of so in the world of analytics, there is an equivalent of mainframe computing. That is my alma mater. This is SAS. It is, depending on the market, it's either everywhere or you either have it or someone who has it, because it has been there before machine learning and analytics and AI became the talk of the town. So the question, should I or shouldn't I? Easy answer. Industries that use and will use SaaS or equivalent legacy platform are industries that cannot afford errors due to unvalidated algorithms and due to community support. So if the cost of implementing or keeping is lower than the damages and losses that you can incur for non-compliance, it's a no-brainer. You talk to a vendor who will give you not only the solution but also the safety and support when you need it. Now, you may become that vendor. You may be so good that you can validate your algorithms. The only question is, are you? And that you need to determine. Second, open source tools and modern tools are great, and there are better and better tools coming every day now, and it's much easier to recruit talent that know new stuff. However, most open source tools, they don't come to the enterprise because somebody is downloading them for free. They're usually bundled with something else and come in as an add-on as a free add-on to something quite expensive. Like if you're getting open source tools as a part of your cloud what your cloud vendor is giving you, well, you had to pay for that cloud. So fundamentally, there's no such thing as free lunch. So you'll probably end up with multiple platforms, and things will be okay, provided that you can wrap them around in the process, wrap them around within your IT operations. Where is your data? Okay. So people are talking about data clouds, people are talking about data lakehouses, people are talking about a lot of new things. Well, first ask yourself, do I have a data warehouse? If I have a data warehouse, I'm still considering the data cloud or data lake, ask yourself, am I actually reinventing the data warehouse? Very often, I found myself designing solutions that at the end of the day, I had to say, no, because in simple terms, I found data coming from the data warehouse, being offloaded from a data warehouse, being put in the data junkyard, lake, and then again being structured to be presented in the data lakehouse. And then I had to ask myself, why are we doing this? Is it easy to find a way to access the traditional data warehouse, maybe build a data mart, and that's all? Well, data warehouse, data cloud, or cloud warehouse, it makes sense, and it makes a lot of sense when you need to build something new, you need to build something quick, and you don't have the capacity to store all that stuff. If you're doing a larger scale migration to the cloud, or if you need real-time reporting and cannot achieve it with your data warehousing platform. But be careful, because there is nothing that the data platform vendors will like to sell you more than the data lakehouse. And the opinion here is mixed. So I would love to spend more time on the statement marked in red, but I will not. But here there are many interesting concepts. So if your data warehouse is immature, if your data warehouse is old, if your data warehouse anyway needs cleaning, you possibly want to move to the data warehouse model, because it gives you one additional benefit. The data warehouse model is built as a single source of data. What data warehouse was promising to be, the kind of data lakehouse is trying to do, and combines not only data for simple for BI basically, but also acts as a data source for analytics. Good thing. However, be careful, because you may not need a completely new platform. You may actually either on-prem or in the cloud, because most of traditional vendors are also coming rapidly with improvements or adaptations of their historic platforms that actually serve the same purpose. So basically, maybe you already have it as a cost of your software maintenance. What I, however, emphasize, you may want, if you want to put new storage model, it will probably be for analytics. It will probably come naturally as a part of your both digital transformation and as and the customer experience improvement model. Is the cloud for real? Well, let's start first. Oh yeah, it's for real. The richest man in the world owns the biggest public cloud company, so it is for real. Every day when I drive, either to work or to the local supermarket, I see that the cloud is for real. I live in Northern Virginia. And Northern Virginia is the place where the cloud, I don't say, significant part of the cloud actually lives. And it actually lives on the north. If you see these blue bubbles, it's called the data center alley, cities of Sterling and Ashburn near the Washington, D.C. airport. And you can see which data centers live there. Oops. And you can see you can see here what I see when I'm driving to buy salad. So this is called Loudoun County Parkway. Every building around is a data center. 5 years ago, those were fields. That just demonstrates, it strikes you. I mean, it just strikes you how big the physical cloud is. When you fly and land at Washington Dulles Airport, what you see underneath is just awesome. It's happening, guys. However, do surveys exaggerate the rate of public cloud adoption? Oh, yeah. Because what lives in these data centers is not necessarily what vendors tell you lives in those data centers. A lot of that is co-location. A lot of that is lift and shift. A lot of that is backup and recovery. And a lot of that is office automation. So if you're asking people, did you start your migration to the cloud? A lot of yes answers are actually, I moved my SharePoint to Office 365, or I started to use Zoom. But again, let's be careful, because in reality, most of the solutions most of cloud solutions will be hybrid, and there's plenty of information, plenty of data to prove that as well. Another word of caution: when people talk about legacy, biggest American companies, they talk about mainframes. Emerging markets, new markets, they don't have mainframes. When they talk about legacy, they talk Oracle, they talk VMware, they talk Unix servers, and that's a pretty young legacy. That legacy usually have pretty mature data warehousing and pretty relatively young data warehousing implementations. So no need to fix what's not broken. Legacy is working, and we kind of understood that it's the remote workforce that easily drives cloud adoption without need for much justification, and that the digital transformation process, greater data literacy, and the need for a better user experience can smoothly drive technological change without major arguments. Finally, where legacy most of the time comes short is AI. And I don't know how much time we spend arguing about what is AI versus machine learning. For me, AI is very simple. It's not what's on the left side picture. It's not sophisticated analytics, and it's relatively easy to explain to the layman. If you used a voice recognition, if you used text AI, conversational AI, or if you spoke to a virtual agent, you know what is AI. A lot of people who are interacting with enterprise system using messaging, they know what is AI. So that these applications are becoming mainstream because Hey Alexa, for example, is consumer driven. and they are no longer esoteric. But most of the time, they use data. They need to use data that is actually has not been collected by legacy systems, and they will naturally drive big data type solutions. They will naturally drive the usage of cloud, because if you need to run serious machine learning algorithms or serious AI algorithms, you probably don't want to have that server in-house. Okay. No enterprise analytics platform yet. I can tell you a lot of things about how to decide for about what you want to have. I think I will skip drilling down into the platform arguments. I will only say that if you're doing open source, you need to know what you're doing, and you need to have somebody who is going to support you, because if you don't want to be you don't want to assemble your stack that is unsupported by the enterprise, that is supported by teams that come and go. Okay. In conclusion, we work in the world. We are working constantly in a world of hype, technology hype, and we work under pressure. The reports that we see are not always done in our best interest. The statistics that we see are not also always in our best interest. The industry is designed to push us for change. Change is good, but you may have to decide where you put your money. And fortunately, and what you change first. And fortunately, most of the change will happen in the industries and in the fields that you care about, which is analytics, machine learning, AI, because they come naturally, because they are customer driven, they are not hype driven, and because our constituency, management, customers, citizens, have learned what we're talking about and have learned to demand this from us. How is this going to be implemented? It will be implemented in a hybrid environment. It will be implemented gradually, and it will be probably driven by people who are similar to the people who are listening to this presentation. That will be all for today. Thank you very much. And if there are any questions, you have my first of you can ask them now, and second, you have my email, my phone. You can find me on LinkedIn and connect with me. By the way, I recommend to read the cloud usage report that is sponsored by also a company connected with our community by Nutanix. They probably have the most realistic view of at least of the cloud adoption situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jovan. This was just really inspiring and profound presentation. We have a question, how this can be used in relation to company communities. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Company?
Communities. Yeah. So, okay.
I'm
then
if you can clarify the question, I
okay, so if you can clarify, just write in the chat. The next one is just waiting to type.
Please share your presentation with us. I will. Okay.
Can you maybe say some additional use case, like for these systems, like how they can be implemented?
Well, here for me the most important, the moral of the story, because I'm looking probably the way I look at things is more influenced by the environment where currently operate, which is government health, and then sitting on a lot of advanced technology councils. The demand for, we used to push machine learning and analytics. Really, it was, I would say, a lot of demand was actually supply driven. A lot of IT people became replaced with machine learning literate people. And then internally, people started to look at, okay, I have data, let me now do something smart with this data, because I know I can. It was possible since the 70s. This is nothing new. We only have more people who know how to do it. And we have more data to analyze. But today, I would say, demand caught with supply. And it's almost like we don't need to convince people anymore, because there are very clear use cases that will drive that will drive change. Very clear use cases also that will keep us busy for the foreseeable future, so that we don't do change just because it's cool, but we do change where it's needed.
I totally agree. Thank you. Especially what you said, that if you're having a analytics dashboard, doesn't mean you're doing an analytics. So that was really a good one. Regarding communities, I think they asked in what kind of communities it can be used. Like maybe they didn't understand well the structure.
If what I understand correctly is in what kind of professional communities?
Yes. Yeah. Correct.
Well, first, when we talk about legacy, we usually talk about financial services, government, and I would add telecom and utilities. Those are big legacy systems, and they are all automated already. And probably the fastest return on investment is leveraging that legacy. And who leverage are either people who own this data, which enterprises that own the data, and also consultants and scientists, and I would say even experts and activists who are not in that particular field. Example: if you open epidemiological data, you have legacy systems. They are in legacy systems. You basically enable extraction and consumption of that data, or you build APIs. And it's not or. I think APIs are exceptionally important. It's something that we're not talking about at all here, and we should. Building APIs to legacy enables data consumption, enables a lot of data science. So that's in the second community. And what every community with more open data, which enterprises are now learning to open because it's easier for them. If they open data, there's plenty of graduate students who are going to build those dashboards that they can put and say, here we are doing data science. In fact, it's being done by the community.
Yeah, I guess why the question was related to it, like what type of it, and maybe to understand better the
Well, I will give you the example. I come from electrical engineering background originally, and the most conservative industry after insurance is probably electric power. They are slow by design. However, they have a lot of data. So now everybody's talking about energy. Before, nobody was talking about energy. It was not cool. Now it's cool. Energy, green, everything. What a power utility can do, any power company, open their data, give access to their data. So much work that can be done by the community if you open up this data and if you let people access it. Right now, you don't need to change your systems. You engage the community and you get a lot of value, all the enterprise and the society.
That's so astonishing. I think that a lot of companies and industries should go in that direction to create like the future legacy as well. Do you have maybe some, because we don't have any more questions, do you have maybe some final words for the audience and some remarks?
I think that where I spend most of my time, where I waste most of my time is arguing over who should I use R or Python or SAS, or is my Python bigger than your Python? Don't argue over programming languages. It will change. Every new generation will bring its own programming language. It is it is the science of data science, not the tool. That's important.
That's remarkable. Thank you, Jovan. It was really a pleasure to having you on our speaking slot, and thank you for being the advisor for Data Science Conference and all the contribution that you're doing over the years. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.